get that going. The internet can totally see you now. All right. All right, here we go. You ready to cook this?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. We're starting in 3, 2, 1. Welcome everybody to Geekvice, episode 293, proving any vice with enough geek can become a virtue. My name's Morph, that man's Kip. Good evening, Kip.
Good evening.
We are back, and I feel like things are all messed up, and I don't know why. Like, I feel off tonight. We'll see how this works. As long as my computer doesn't crash, we're all good. You know.
It wouldn't be an episode without it.
Well, that's kind of the way it's going. I need to clean it. That's what I need to do. Like, it's all dusty. I need to take the thing apart. Might do that this weekend, I guess. So, yeah. So, how you doing, Kip? What you been up to the last couple weeks?
Well, I'm still doing the quarantine thing, so they got that going.
Yeah, still doing that. Although, well, yeah, how are you feeling after the whole Big Ten debacle?
Ah, man. That's so depressing.
I know, you as a Nebraska fan, I thought of you when I heard that. And,
Yeah, I feel like since Nebraska got Scott Frost as a head coach, they've been kind of cursed. Because I think they're going to end up doing really well. It's just getting them off the ground.
Yeah.
Once they do, it's going to be great. But, the first season, the first game was canceled because of lightning, and then the second season just sucked, and then the third season COVID.
Yeah. Yeah, you really
Which
can't.
It's too bad because I think they were going to make some drastic moves this I think they were going to surprise some people, but now we won't find out.
Nope, and it'll be interesting to see what they do with all that, because I heard the SEC's playing. They're still gonna play.
Big 12.
Yeah, Big 12's still playing.
ACC.
Yeah, so but you never know. That all could come crashing down, because who knows? NFL says they're still gonna go. Soccer's supposed to start. Actually, the Sporting's first game after this tournament is tomorrow night in Minnesota.
Nice.
So they're back traveling. Actually, for soccer, for the soccer players, this is actually a good thing for them, because the MLS has this rule where you're only allowed chartered flights, like a certain number of chartered flights each season. So they're, limited on, they'll only spring for a chartered flight when it's like very specific, like a really long flight where you don't want to go through a bunch of layovers. A lot of them, they'll do it when they have to fly internationally, if they're playing in like the Champions League, where they got to play in Guatemala or Mexico or something like that. They'll get chartered flights for those because they're a lot nicer flights. But because of the whole COVID thing, they are requiring everyone to fly chartered flights. So these guys have gone from flying coach to flying chartered.
Nice.
Like, oh.
I feel like with sports, the NBA is doing a pretty good job. Major League Baseball, for the most part, is doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, except for those Cardinals.
The Cardinals and the Marlins have been messing things up. But other than that, it's working.
Yeah.
I think the NFL is going to be fine because they've pretty much just quarantined the entire team.
Yeah.
And then with no fans.
They're testing them every day.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think you could do that with college football because who are we kidding? Yeah,
Yeah.
they're student athletes, but
No, they're
who are we kidding?
athletes. They're athletes, not students. They're athletes.
Plus,
They're
they can do
athletes that
online
happen to
classes.
go to school. Yeah. And that's the interesting thing. So, I mean, we won't spend too much time on this topic, but school, the school system and the schools in Johnson County here have, Johnson County Health came out and said, hey, here's the criteria if depending on the level of where we're at with number of cases and things like that, positive tests and on what school should look like, and they've come out and said Johnson County came out and said we are in the red, therefore they should be remote learning except for elementary schools because they can kind of what all the sports are doing, quarantine the team. They can quarantine the class inside their room, and they don't leave their room. Once they get to school, they go directly to their room. They'll stay in their room for the entire day, and then they will go home. So they're really limiting their exposure to different people. So it's kind of like putting them in their own little bubble at school. So it's interesting. We'll see how that is, but it's caused all this fall sports because high schools and middle schools are all remote learning now. All the fall sports have been canceled. Some of the school districts have tried to fight it, and they've found that it doesn't work out so well. So
Yeah.
it's come back to bite them in the ass. And Blue Valley has not released their statement yet, but I have an insider that gave me some information on the Blue Valley School District and the parents. After the uproar of what's been going on, the parents are not going to be happy. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Well,
So,
Kansas is still a state that that's the virus is not in a decline yet.
right.
So yeah, Nebraska. A lot of the people on my team at work live in Nebraska, and their schools all started in person learning.
Yeah.
This week, so they shipped their kids off to school, and I got to looking. It's like Nebraska's numbers are damn near zero.
Right.
In fact, they had a few cases where they had negative deaths, so there's some zombies running around in Nebraska. Some people came back to life-ish.
Yeah, gotta love those numbers.
Yeah, Kansas is not there yet, so I'm not surprised it's online.
Yeah, no, and what we've been told is they'll start in full after Labor Day. All the schools will start after Labor Day, at least in our school district, and middle school and high school will be a remote, which my oldest son is in middle school, so he will be a remote, but my youngest one is a 4th grader, so he will be going to school. Third grader. And I don't want to make him too old. 3rd grader. He's a 3rd grader, so he'll be going to school, which he's excited for. My oldest one's a little bummed that he's not going to school to see his friends, but I think he'll do okay with remote learning. He's one of those special kids that's kind of a self-starter anyway. Like homeschooling is not really a problem for him. He's pretty motivated to learn himself. So, but on that same note, and this is just random, that do you ever sit around drinking with friends and then you like drunk purchase things?
Maybe.
Yeah. So, have you ever drunk purchased a lifetime subscription to Rosetta Stone?
I have not.
So I can officially say that my wife has done that.
When you do the lifetime,
Is it
one particular language, or is it just Rosetta Stone?
It is every language that Rosetta Stone teaches, and we have it for as long as we want it, never paying another dime.
Because you played, I'm sure you paid plenty of dimes up front.
It was on sale. We got it for $200.
Oh, that's cheaper than I thought.
Yeah, and the nice thing is, like, my neighbors across the street, we were drinking with them, and they brought it up, and so they were like, oh, that's a really good idea. Like, we should get something like that. And so my wife just went and got on her phone and it's like, oh, it's on sale for $200. Like, that sounds like a deal. We'll buy that. So we're splitting it with our neighbors across the street. So it's really only $100 for us. So we're gonna put 8 people through Rosetta Stone for for $200. But yeah,
That'd be awesome. That way, you guys could be speaking whatever language you're learning, and everybody else in your block will have no idea what you're saying.
exactly. Yeah. Well, and the whole thing that brought this up is my oldest son had his plays soccer, and his soccer coach is from Brazil, and so he speaks Portuguese. He speaks fluent Portuguese and fluent Spanish, and then of course fluent English. And so he made the comment that he wants to teach all the kids on the team some Portuguese so that he can tell them to do things on the for set plays in soccer, and the other team won't know what's going on. Because very few people in the United States speak Portuguese. And so Reese was pretty stoked about that idea, and so we're like, well, I guess the first language he can learn is Portuguese, and we'll just, once school starts back up, we're going to make sure we block off some time for him to learn Portuguese on Rosetta Stone. So, yeah. It's a drunk purchase that I never really thought I would talk about, but it happened, and I'm okay with it.
There it is. It's just there.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it, but we'll see. Maybe I'll come on here and start speaking another language sometime.
Well, learn German.
I know a little bit, but not very much. That's what I took in high school was German, but it didn't stick. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I've been doing the Duolingo thing. I did Japanese for a while.
Yeah.
But I just wasn't getting it. I'll admit it. I'm not smart enough to learn Japanese at this point. So we were watching a show on Netflix called Dark. It's like the German version of Stranger Things. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's subtitled, but after a while you're like, I think I'd kind of want to learn German. So I started that up.
It's actually, German's not, it's not incredibly difficult, but just like any foreign language, their sentence structure is just different from ours. They don't, you don't say the blue car, you say the car is blue. So.
Yeah. Well, that and, there's the masculine version of a word,
Yeah.
And I mess up. I'm sure people who speak German are like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? If they were watching me take this stuff, could be like, I'll mess up the proper use of what's the English version of a, like, person.
Yep.
It's either ein or eine, and I'll get it backwards every time.
Yep.
Or
depending on what the noun, depending on what the noun is, and whether it should be der or die or
den. Yeah. Yep. It's like.
Yep. I do remember that
wrong
part
all the time.
Yeah, and I'm I don't know. I actually, one of the languages that's in Rosetta Stone that I was really surprised, Latin is in there. So I've always wanted to learn Latin, which, everybody laughs at me. They're like, it's a dead language. I'm like, yeah, that should make it really easy to learn. You don't have to worry about slang or anything changing. It just is. It's done. Like, there's nobody else speaking it, but it's the basis of so many other languages. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if it actually works.
Yeah.
I might not be smart
enough to learn it. Sounds like fun.
But my kids are definitely smart enough to learn it, and I hope to make them multi-languaged. That's not the right word. Multilingual.
Yeah, maybe you should take English on Rosetta Stone. just a suggestion.
Yeah, that actually probably isn't a bad idea. But, yeah. All right, so, let's get into this. We've got movies galore going on here. So before we get into the main topics, I want to talk about what I'm doing with the kids, what my wife and I are doing with the kids. And since for the last, few months, we haven't had any sports. There's no sports on TV. There hadn't been sports on TV. The kids hadn't been playing sports, no games. Those are picking back up now, but we're still trying to keep in with watching some classic movies and exposing our kids to classic movies. And so we've watched two big classics, to me, big classics, and I think Kip would agree with this. Two big classics that we've watched. One we watched tonight, which was Top Gun, one of Tom Cruise's best movies from the '80s. Incredible soundtrack. Has some great moments in the movie, some great dogfighting scenes. But I will say I did not remember how slow that movie progresses at times. And my 8-year-old got a little tired of it after a while. But it was good to expose them to kind of a different movie. Because, really, there's not. I don't know of a movie now that I would even compare to Top Gun. Not in content or anything like that. Obviously there's, dogfighting movies out there, kind of. But since Top Gun, I don't feel like there's been another movie that matches in tone and storytelling, the way it tells the story. And I thought that was really cool. I thought it was kind of cool to expose the kids to. But Reese liked it. My 11-year-old liked it. He was able to sit long enough. But we did have to pause the movie. It took a little longer to get through because we had to pause the movie to kind of explain and talk to what's going on. And it brought up an idea that, my kids now, back in the 80s, watching war movies was pretty common. There was all kinds of war movies that were coming out in the 80s and 90s. That was kind of the big topic. Plus, it was a big discussion on TV with, the Iraq, war and schools.
Well, we were scared of the Russians in the 80s. That was the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. Always worried about going to war. And so it was a topic that seemed to be on the news all the time. And it's not so much now. And I think I noticed a disconnect from my kids being able to watch Top Gun because of that. They've been, as much violence and things like that are on TV and video games and things like that. They're less exposed to the reality of war. And what, kind of even what our military does in a unglorified situation. I mean, don't get me wrong, Top Gun glorifies it, but not to the same extent of things like, the movies that come out now when you have Gerald Butler, saving the day, as a Secret Service agent, or those seem to be kind of the movies that are out more now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I was actually, when you said it, it's like, what movies would I compare to Top Gun these days? And I'm like you, I couldn't think of one. It's,
I still had to
make them. Yeah, I'm gonna sound like an old man. They just don't make them like they used to.
Yeah, they. I still had to wipe my wife's chin from the drool during the volleyball scene. So
yeah, I'm sure.
But yeah, it was still good. I still enjoyed it even after all these years. I still enjoyed it. So real quickly, the other movie that we watched that I thought was a much bigger impact on them, and it was brought up a very interesting topic, was we watched Remember the Titans. One of the greatest football movies. I'd even argue one of the greatest movies, period. Football or not. One of the greatest movies, period. It was very impactful. It brought up a lot of difficult conversations. But I thought it was very interesting when we finished the movie and we started talking about like comparing that movie and what they went through back then with segregation and trying to get equal rights, um, just stopping segregation, and what's going on now in the news with Black Lives Matters and
Yeah.
things like that. And it was very interesting because Reese looked at me with all seriousness and says, I feel like everybody just needs to watch this movie. And I'm like, you're not wrong. Oh, you you're absolutely right. And if that movie could solve all the problems, it could just get people to realize that we're fighting over some things that don't need to be fought over, that it's just ridiculous. Judging somebody for the color of their skin is just absolutely asinine. And uh, if this movie could change all that for everyone, I would. Well, I still say everybody should go watch this movie, but maybe, you know, maybe if they all went and watched this movie, they'd realize that it's not worth it.
And that is so true. That movie, I thought, covered it very well. Um, as a white person in America, it made me uncomfortable, and it should.
Yeah,
Um, I'm embarrassed for the actions back then. Um, HBO has a new show, Lovecraft Country,
yeah,
and it takes place in the 40s, maybe early 50s, and it follows the protagonists are African American, and it follows them as they're going through some really bad places for African Americans to be at that time, and you're just embarrassed. You're like, holy crap, we were so awful.
yeah,
Still are, but it was so much worse back then. It's like, so yeah, Remember the Titans covered it very well.
yeah. I mean, it kind of floored me, and having to explain because, well, it did two things for me. One, it actually made me feel really good because my kids looked at me like, why is this going on? They didn't understand because we've never taught them to hate somebody like that, or they to them it just felt foreign for people to even think like they were, and like what was done back then and even is still now. So that made me feel good, but then having to try to sit there and tell them, well, what was happening, like that made me uncomfortable. And it just like, I'm sorry, but this is our past. This is our history, and this is what happened, and this is why people are still so upset. And I can't blame them for being upset, but for what happened. But I just hope that at some time we can all just move past it and realize that why can't we all just get along?
Exactly. Yeah, and the whole idea of you're superior because of your skin color just blows me away.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Because honestly, I'm so pale, I feel completely inferior.
I don't even feel white. I feel translucent.
I do. I'm out in the sun. I'm afraid I'm going to, ignite.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I can't help that as much as anybody else can help what their skin tone is. And, yeah, how am I supposed to hate somebody for something they had no control over?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's completely meaningless. Completely meaningless.
Absolutely.
We're humans.
On a more funny note, though, my kids did. This was the time that they now every time we watch a movie since that, they look at me anytime something remotely sad happens. This was the first time they made fun of me for crying in a movie. Remember the Titans has made me cry no matter how many times I've watched that movie. That movie makes me cry.
When
watching.
Bertier raises his arms in the hospital room.
Yeah, oh yeah. Even when he gets hit, I start bawling when he gets hit, when he gets into the accident, and because I just know, I know, and that feeling for, I tried to explain it to my kids. It's it's less. I'd I don't want to say it's less of the movie and more, but it kind of is, and more of just life experience. Watching your friends have a sport that they love taken away from them because of an injury. It's hard, and so it's got a little bit more of a deeper impact than I think the movie even intended. But the reaction of all the people around was just, from that point on, is just incredible, and the coming together of everything. It was great. I loved it. It's a great movie. Everyone should watch Remember the Titans. And
Yeah,
if
I
you
love
haven't
that
watched
movie.
it with your kids, if you have kids and you haven't watched it with them, you should. Especially if they like sports, because that's the nice thing about this movie is, because it's football, people can watch it with an understanding of what it is that they're watching. Like, for a kid, like, that's how I convinced the kids to watch the movie. I'm like, guys, it's a football movie. Like, this is a movie about a team that goes undefeated when they were never supposed to go undefeated. Like, that kind of underdog mentality is always, kids always feed off of that. And so getting them to watch the movie and then having it bring up so many other ideas and questions and topics is a great way to bring it up. So
Absolutely. That team was built to fail.
yeah, yeah,
The people in charge built that team to fail, and they went undefeated. So
yeah.
there you go.
It's great. And I think and I've used this line as a coach too. The line that is of we're working for perfection here. I demand perfection. And the at the end, when he says, we all might not be perfect. None of us are perfect, but together we're perfect. And I have used that with with my teams that I coach, and just bringing the kids together, and just, hey, each one of you has pluses and minuses. It works in a team. It works. It'd work for work. It would work for anything that's a team setting. Each individuals have their pluses and minuses, their strengths and their weaknesses, and together you can be perfect.
I like it.
It's really deep, and so yeah, that's what I got. That's what I got. You tell us about DC Universe, but before you do that, or while you do that, I'm gonna let my dog outside, so she'll quit whining.
All right. So I don't know about everybody else, but in my house, we are struggling to find things to watch. We've gone through everything that seems to be worth watching. So we decided to pull the trigger on the DC Universe streaming service. I know some of you are listening going, but isn't that going away? Chances are it probably is. But in the short term, we get to watch stuff like the Titans. I get to read comic books. I get to watch an animated series about Harley Quinn. So while it's still here, I'm going to enjoy it. What I really wanted to talk about is the Harley Quinn animated series. Harley Quinn is voiced by, I'm going to screw up her last name. I know it, but Haley Kowalko.
Oh yeah, yeah.
From Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
She's the voice of Harley Quinn. Lake Bell is the voice of Poison Ivy.
Dude, you got lots of people in here. Alan Tudyk, Ron
Alan
Funches.
There's
Diedrich Bader
just
is
a
Batman.
bunch of great people. But what I like about it is there's this sarcastic tone to the dialogue. And I love it. I mean, it is a show kind of like Birds of Prey that we will talk about, like the Birds of Prey movie, where Harley Quinn wants to break away from the Joker and all the difficulties that she encounters, not being associated with the Joker anymore. But her best friend in this is Poison Ivy, and those two playing off each other is fantastic. I absolutely love it. It's just great. And especially Poison Ivy and her Lake Bell's deadpan delivery on some of the sarcastic lines. Perfect. Love it. I'm not a big animated series person, so for me to say, hey, this is worth it, watch this animated series, it's good, because I haven't watched Spider-Verse or any of that stuff, because I just don't like watching animated movies, but this animated series is very good. I like it. We started the Titans, which is very good. Really like it. If you haven't had a chance to see it, I don't know if you can see it if you don't have the DC Universe, but I don't know. It's just kind of what you need. Marvel is great, but it's very sanitized, because I feel like it's trying to be for a broader audience. But you watch stuff on the DC Universe and they're dropping the F-bomb and things like that. So as a person who drops the F-bomb a lot, I can appreciate that. And to me, that is real life. That is the way people talk in the real world.
Yeah.
So not everybody's Captain America, where it's watch your language. It's people drop the F-bomb. It's just the way it is. People have sex. That actually happens. These kinds of things. So that's what I like about the DC Universe. Luckily, when the DC Universe app goes away, they're moving their original content to HBO Max, which I have, so I won't miss out on anything. But so if you don't want to get the DC Universe, which I don't blame you, wait for HBO Max to get everything. But the Titans, I'm looking up the other one. Oh, Doom Patrol.
Oh, yeah. Doom Patrol. I've seen commercials for that one. It looks good, but
I don't have a way to watch it. Pretty good. It surprised me right off the bat. There's a sex scene. There's a little bit of nudity. They're dropping the F-bomb. Like, holy shit. I'm watching a comic book movie or show. And it went further than Deadpool goes. So,
oh, wow. So it's and that's the nice thing. That's one of the things that. So there was a couple things that I looked at. I looked at the possibility of DC Universe when it first was being announced, and there was a couple things that I really liked about it. One, I liked the idea that it was going to include TV and comic books. That I'd be able to put the app on my phone and be able to pull up comic books or on my tablet and read DC comic books. And then also be able to put it on TV and watch, log in through the TV and watch episodes. I really like that idea, and I hope that Disney and Marvel do something like that. It would be really kind of cool that if they worked out a deal where maybe a Disney Plus subscription, you pay a little extra for Disney Plus and get Marvel Unlimited and get their full selection of Marvel comic books. That would be really cool. But I also, that's the other thing that turned me on to DC Universe was the fact that the shows that they were putting together were not WB DC shows.
Yes, right.
Every other DC show, and I've loved them. Flash, Arrow, I want to see Batwoman. I haven't seen it yet. Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl, all that stuff that was on the WB, or is on the WB, it it's all good. It's not that stuff's bad, but sometimes you want something that I want to watch something that I can't watch with my kids, and that's what really struck me with Titans and Doom Patrol, um, was the fact that they seemed more adult.
They are totally more adult, and not in the over Game of Thrones kind of way. It's just part of the story. To me, they went, this is real life. This is how people are. We're putting it in.
Yeah.
The Doom Patrol, Brendan Fraser is, sorry, I don't know their names. I'm just getting into this, but he's the guy that almost was dead, and they turned him into the robot, basically.
Oh yeah.
Put his brain in a robot and
Cyborg.
What's that?
Cyborg.
Yeah. He's he's so smart, such a smart ass, and honestly, he does not have. He's called Robot Man.
Oh.
So whatever.
Right on.
Because of what happened to him, and he's now a robot. He didn't want to be. I think he'd rather have been dead, and he plays that really well. They're all sitting around the table eating, and he's like just watching people eat. Like, this is almost porn for him because he can't eat.
Yeah.
Doesn't eat, can't eat. And I think he plays that very well. But,
Brendan Fraser looks like he's dead anyway.
Doom Patrol was pretty decent. What we did was, when we first got it, we said, okay, we're going to watch an episode of Doom Patrol. We're going to watch an episode of the Titans, and then whichever one we like best, we're going to start with that one and finish it. We liked Titans better.
Yeah.
And I think the reason we liked Titans better was the whole Dick Grayson story.
Dick Grayson is a fan of mine. I am a big fan of Dick Grayson. Like that character.
Yeah, and the guy that plays him is he's doing a very good job. And for those of you who don't know the story, he broke away from Batman. He does not like who he became as Robin, but he can't give it up. So I noticed in the IMDb credits that he's listed as Robin and as Nightwing. So I think the whole Titans thing is him becoming Nightwing. Because there is a scene, a small spoiler here if you don't want to hear it, but there is a scene where his Robin replacement shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to tell the guy, hey, being Robin isn't what you think it is, but I didn't think I'd like Coriander. You saw the pictures of her outfit. She looked like a third-rate hooker, to be honest.
Yeah.
But she's fantastic. She's a badass. I like her character. There's a whole section where there's some other people that are doing the whole mask vigilante thing, and one of them is Minka Kelly, if you know who that is, Friday Night Lights TV show.
Mm-hmm.
I loved her character. It was just one of those surprises as she showed up. It's like, it's Minka Kelly. They just picked her because she's good looking. Yeah, she's good looking, but she nailed the character. So, huge fan of where this is going. I am on episode 8 of the first season, so I've gotten pretty far and I've enjoyed every episode. So
nice.
When all this goes to HBO Max, or if you're like me and thought, it's worth the $7 a month for however long this lasts, I can read that many dollars worth in comic books, so it pays for itself.
Yeah.
So if
Hell,
you're like
you
me,
read two comic books.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Give
2 comic books a month.
Titans
Kip.
a shot.
2 comic books a month.
Yeah.
That's what that price is. 2 comic books.
Yeah, and they have good stuff. I mean, the one I'm reading now is Swamp Thing,
Oh yeah.
but they've got Justice League Dark. They've
Yeah.
got the Detective Comics.
Yep.
They've got the Batman Who Laughs.
Oh, that's a good one
Um,
too.
Deceased. I mean, they've got some stuff in here, and it's like,
Yeah, yeah, Swamp Thing's really good. You could probably even, I bet you they even have Hellblazer in there. That's a good one too, because you like the dark, some of the dark stuff. That John Constantine is Hellblazer. That's his title, like the title of the book is Hellblazer,
right.
but it's all about John Constantine and the dark magic and the super spooky stuff. And yeah, there's some good books in there. The Justice League Dark follows that same kind of idea.
Yeah, to me, just the comic books alone is worth it. But pick it up if you want to, if you think it's worth it, and watch the Titans.
Yeah,
You will not be disappointed.
I might have to do that.
I didn't expect much out of it, and it surprised me.
Very cool. Yeah, I'll have to do that. I will have to do that. Yeah. So you talked about the Harley Quinn movie, and so one of the advantages to having my desk right back there and working is that on the evenings where I need to be working after all the kids go to bed, I got this nice, really big, 42-inch TV here that I can flip on a movie. And so the other night I had a deadline to meet, and I was behind because I sat in meetings all day and didn't get anything done. So I decided I was going to stay up and work, so I flipped on The Emancipation of Harley Quinn. Um,
Birds of
true,
Prey.
true title, Birds of Prey, The Emancipation of Harley Quinn. That movie is great. I'm just going to start off with that right there. The movie is way better than I thought it was going to be. The I honestly went into this movie, and maybe that was my thing. I went in with low expectations. I have not liked a lot of DC movies. I did not like Suicide Squad. I thought it was terrible. I thought it was a dumpster fire, and I just forced myself to finish the movie. So I went into this one with that same kind of, you know what? I need to watch this. Margot Robbie is Margot Robbie. I mean, she's amazing. That lady can act. She's an incredible actress and has an amazing talent, and I can't wait to see what else she can do. But this movie, the plot was well put together. Honestly, you know what? I meant to look before we started this. I meant to look to see who the director was for that movie, because the movie felt like it felt like a Guy Ritchie movie. Is honestly what it was. I felt like I was watching Snatch at times, or Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Like, so I mean, it's directed by Kathy Yane. So maybe I don't know who that is. I don't know what else she's done, but it had that feel. It had that feel where they're telling you a story, and then it was like, you have Harley Quinn kind of narrating what's going on and giving you kind of the story, and then she's like, wait, hold on. We've gone too far this way. Let me back up and tell you this. And so they tell you a different storyline and a different thing, and all the paths they kind of cross over and interconnect, and I thought it was really great. What they were doing, the way they brought the characters together, because honestly, the characters, your birds of prey, were never together until the end of the movie. They were never helping each other out. They crossed paths occasionally, but usually they hated each other. And it wasn't until the end when they had to work together to get out of a situation where they kind of realized, hey, we're actually kind of good at this. Um, it was really really good, really good. I highly recommend it. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. I
That's kind of funny because the wife and I decided to watch it,
Yeah.
and we didn't finish it.
Oh no.
Neither
Oh
one of
no.
us was all that excited. We we took a break for some reason. I can't remember why. And then when we sat back down, it's like, let's watch something else. Neither one of us was that enamored with it. I felt like it was taking too much time to get somewhere.
It it does take
And
time.
I'm a big fan of Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, so some of the stuff she was doing, I was all in. But I just felt like this movie's going nowhere.
It does take a long it I will say, after you say that, the one complaint that I have is that, one, the movie is long. Like, it is not a short movie anyway. It's pushing 2 hours. It's over 2 hours. Um, but it it takes a long time. It develops slowly. But what you almost have to take is that it's this movie gives you basically five origin stories in one movie. Um, this was the uh, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor. Um, well, yeah, each of those three movies and the Avengers movie all combined together is really what this movie was, and that's not easy to do. So I will say that yes, it's not fast paced, but when you get to the end, when you get to the final, um, you get to the final battle scene, it's like getting to the end of the Avengers, or getting to that point in the Avengers movie, the first one where they land on the bridge and they're all together and they're like, okay, here we go, and you start watching each of them kick ass and they work together, and you know um, that's what the end of the Harley Quinn, the Birds of Prey movie, that's what it really felt like. That gave me that feeling, that same sort of feeling.
So it's one of those where the payoff is at the end.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Well,
And
I'll tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. I'll finish that movie, but you have to watch Vast of Night.
Vast of Night. Okay.
It's on Amazon Prime, if you have it,
Yeah, I do. I
or
do.
whatever methods you have of getting your shows you watch. It's a alien abduction movie, but it doesn't feel like it.
Oh, I have not seen this, but I have. It's actually on my watch list on Amazon Prime.
I would highly recommend it to anybody listening. Vast of Night is going to surprise you.
Yeah, because this is the one that takes place in the 1950s.
Yeah. It starts off, and we're watching it, and I'm like thinking my wife is hating this because it's not moving really fast. And then finally, I just like, are you liking this? She's like, oh no, I love it. It's like, oh thank God, because I want to keep watching it. But yeah, it's movies aren't done like this anymore,
Yeah.
and it felt like um, a movie made back in the day they were portraying. Be honest. Um, I don't know. We'll talk about it when you watch it, but
Yeah.
highly recommend watching that,
I'll
and
do
then
it.
I'll finish Harley Quinn.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. It's to me it's worth finishing. And honestly, if Harley Quinn does anything, if this Birds of Prey movie does anything, um, or if I hope anything comes out of it, I hope that we get more about these characters, because we could really see, and it doesn't have to have Harley Quinn in it because, you know, from Birds of Prey, like the actual Birds of Prey from the comic books, Harley Quinn's not part of the Birds of Prey. Um, but the characters that they introduce, Black Canary, Huntress, Renee Montoya, um, they they're all part of the Birds of Prey, along with a few others that aren't in here that they could definitely add in and make. But it's an all female group, and it would be really great to see more movie. Like honestly, I'd love to see another movie where they take this and maybe do a sequel with it, and maybe leave Margot Robbie out of it. Let her just produce it, and just get a full on superhero team of all women. That would be pretty cool. Pretty.
I'm not against that at all. The whole idea of the Birds of Prey is completely appealing.
Yeah.
But I just felt like, boy, that movie's just moving way too slow.
Yeah. It's not fast, but kind of like a Guy Ritchie movie. Those movies don't move fast. You know, Snatch is not a fast-paced movie by any means. You know that. So that, and that's kind of the feel that I got, and I really enjoy those though not those types of movies. I really like the Guy Ritchie movies. So maybe, and that might be why I enjoyed this and was able to stick it out a little bit longer. I also was not sitting and just like staring at the screen the entire time either. I was also working while watching the movie, so that can also fills the voids when things start feeling slow. Then you're paying it's background noise. So
Yeah.
maybe that helped some too.
Well, maybe I'll just drink heavily or something.
There you go. There you go. That is not a
No,
good
but I
sign.
will. I'll finish it. I promise. But you have to watch Vast tonight.
Yeah, it's on my list. It is on my list. I think somebody else might have mentioned that to me too, and so yeah, it's on my watch list, and I've been trying to check some stuff off the box. I've got another movie that I'm gonna save for another time because we're already at time. So, but I watched the movie A House with a Clock in the Walls, starring Jack Black, and let's just say it was good. Surprisingly good. And surprising
One word reviews.
Yeah,
Good.
surprisingly different than what I expected going into the movie. So, yeah. So we'll talk about that one the next time we talk about movies. I don't know what we're gonna do next week. Maybe we do some more movies. Maybe we do some TV shows. Maybe we talk about board games because, might want to talk about some board games that we've got. Got a new expansion of a board game. Plus, I've been playing Villainous. I've played it twice now, and I won. I won once. Actually, no, I lost twice. You got another expansion too for Villainous. Yeah, yeah, I'm enjoying that game. My kids are enjoying that game. My kids have played that
It's a great game.
They have been playing that game more since we got it than I anticipated. So, I've lost both times, but one time I kind of felt like I was winning because Conley ended up winning, and he was playing Maleficent, which is she's kind of hard to win too. So each character, man, they're incredible. Like they're just deep, and it's yeah. My wife won. She played and won a game as the Queen of Hearts. So yeah.
I've won twice and did not win the third time.
Yeah. So yeah, I've played twice now. I've lost as Prince John and I've lost as Ursula. But Ursula, I was really, really close to winning. Prince John, I wasn't anywhere close.
Ursula's the one where you have to get the
trident and the crown.
Trident, yeah.
Yeah.
And the crown.
To Ursula's lair, and it has to be at the start of your turn. And
I won as Maleficent and as Prince John, and lost as Ursula. In fact, I didn't even come close.
Ursula, I was really, really close to winning, but I just got to the point where I couldn't get to the right places to make stuff happen. I got bombarded, and then it slowed me down too much. But yeah, enough about that stuff. We got more time to talk about that stuff later, so we will. We've got plenty of topics for upcoming episodes, so stay tuned, guys, for more stuff. But as for now, you know the drill. Go check us out at our blog, geekvice.blogspot.com. Go check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/geekvice. You can follow that man over there on Twitter at Kip Killigan. You can follow me at Geekvice. You can also go check out the YouTube channel where we've got Let's Play videos. We've got all the past episodes of these if you want to watch past episodes on YouTube because you don't want to listen to a podcast while you're working or something like that. You can go check us out on YouTube. Go search for Kip Morph. We're the only Kip Morph on YouTube. And of course, as always, you can reach us by email at geekvice@gmail.com. Thanks everyone for listening to our ramblings, and we will see you next time.
Later.
This podcast is part of the Podcast Arcade Network.